guys, in this video I'm going to teach you how to balance your multi-rotor or drone propellers or airplane propellers using a cheap propeller balancer. Now I got this propeller balancer off of AliExpress for like $4, and it works pretty well. When I first got it, the magnets were too close together, so I wouldn't be able to slip this in between the two magnets like they are now. So I had to use some washers between these standoffs or spacers. I had to use some thin washers and just unscrewed these nuts and added some water. And now it works just fine. Now if you can see closely, the blue nuts on here are actually unbalanced. The heavy part of them will want to swing down or rotate. You see, I'm just letting go, and they'll want to try to swing back. You see that? Yeah, right there. And so what I do to solve that issue, instead of grinding down these nuts like some people do so they're properly balanced, I'll just variate them. So when I have a propeller, I'll unscrew one side and tighten the other, so it shifts the unbalanced point around, so I can get a real reading on how the propeller is balanced. Now I use electrical tape and sometimes CA glue to balance my propellers. As you can see here, just some electrical tape works fine. Sometimes you can wrap it around the leading edge of a propeller. And so this is a pretty balanced propeller. It was pretty good quality. Got it off of Amazon. It was a Raycor 5040 bullnose. And I'll show you what this sounds like on a DYS Samguk 2400 kV motor. And this is my Delta Wing pusher, but as you can see, it's pretty balanced. This propeller is pretty balanced. There's no bzzz, like humming or vibrating. Now with a unbalanced propeller, this is a little bit of a cheaper one, so these ones tend to be more unbalanced. I got these also off AliExpress for like $5 for like 16 of them, so it's a pretty good deal, but of course they're not going to be perfectly balanced. And I know this propeller is not on in the right orientation to be a pusher, but this is just to demonstrate how unbalanced the propeller is. If you can feel the vibrations in your hand, that's one sign that your propeller is not balanced. And by balancing your propeller, you'll get a lot more efficiency, and your plane will be quieter in the air, so not as annoying. Balancing your propellers is nice if you plan to 3D print your own propellers, because 3D printing propellers are always unbalanced no matter how good your printer is. They're just always going to be unbalanced. These factory injection molded ones are even unbalanced, so I doubt that your 3D printer can make a perfectly balanced propeller. But I like to balance my 3D printed propellers. To start, and for anyone asking, you can balance 3-blade propellers on a propeller stand like this. So to start, you just remove the magnet, unthread one of the blue nuts, and as you can see, these are like a conical shape. So when you put your propeller on, or I'll take the unbalanced propeller, and the conical shape should sit in the hole of the propeller, or else it'll be wobbly and not give you accurate readings. So Just make sure that the conical shape is seated in the hole of the propeller and that there's no play or anything. Now when I put the propeller in the stand, it's gonna go to one side immediately. Now as you can see, it went to that side. You can see that this side is way heavier than this side. And no matter how, it'll always be heavier. I can flip it around and this side will always be heavier. Now to counteract this unbalanced propeller, some people would like to sand off the heavier side of the propeller to equal out the balance, but I'll just take some electrical tape. You just peel off a little bit and take some scissors. I like these smaller scissors because they're not as bulky and they don't get in the way as much as other scissors. So just cut off about this much, and I like to cut it in half so it's like a square. Cut it in half so it's like a square. And then, since you want to keep your propeller as lightweight as possible, put it on the lighter side as far out. Put it as far out on the propeller blade as you can. This will give it the most leverage and will allow you to use the least amount of tape possible. So I have it placed on that lighter side, so I'll put it back in there. And as you can see, this side is still heavier, even with the tape on the other side. So what I'll do is take the other half of my tape and cut that in half once more. And I'll place this, and I'll place that piece on the propeller. And this side is still heavier. So this is not a very good, this is a pretty unbalanced propeller. Now I'm going to put one on the top of the propeller. And now I'm going to try again. As you can see, it's too heavy. So I'm going to take off the top piece, and now that I realize the propeller's actually balanced, it was just the imbalance of the propeller nuts that always caused it to go to this side. But now it's pretty balanced. It should balance to the middle, and to make sure that it's not the propeller nuts that are balancing out, unthread that side to shift the unbalanced portions of the propeller nut, of this conical shaped nut, and reapply it. And as you can see, your propeller is balanced. Now I'm going to take this off. Just unthread one of the blue nuts and put it on my plane. So now, as you can see, I just have balanced it and I put the propeller on. And as you can see, it's much quieter. There's no like humming or vibrations. Much better. As you can see, this process will also work with a 6-inch propeller. You just use the same procedure. You use the conical to center the propeller shaft holes on the propeller, and then you just, as you can see, this propeller is a little bit too heavy on this side. Now I've previously balanced this, and I have added too much tape. So what I'll do is I'll peel off some, and I'll just take these scissors and just snip off some of the tape. Now I put this back on, and that's pretty good. Now that might just be the propeller nuts being unbalanced, so just redo those nuts. As you can see, balances. So once I just cut away some of the tape, the propeller now balances really well. On this 3D printed propeller, I used some electrical tape because this propeller was pretty off balance, and I also used some super glue. Using a little bit of super glue also helps to keep the electrical tape on the propeller. So, and if any of you guys are wondering if you want to buy this cheap balancer, it will work with tri-bladed props. Remember, make sure the conical end first. Will work with tri-bladed propellers. There's just not as much play as the two-bladed props, and you have to isolate which propeller is heavier than the other.